Good morning. We are happy to have you here with us on UBI, under biblical investigation. As you all can see, I'm not Brother Covert. I'm Brother Charles. It's good to be with you all this morning. Brother Covert is not with us today, so he asked me to sit in on his stead. So we are happy to be here with the preacher. We want you to like and share and all that good stuff on our social platforms so that everybody can get this information, because this is something you don't want to miss.
Yes, sir.
You want to share this with your friends. If you want to know anything more about the Bible, you want to know about spirituality, it's not a Church of Christ thing, it's not a Catholic thing. This is about God, knowing more about Him. And so that's what this study is for, and that will lead us to where we want to go. So we want to welcome the preacher this morning. Good morning, Doc. How you doing,
Doc?
sir?
You looking good, Doc.
Hey, man, I'm trying to keep up with you.
Nah, don't go backwards.
Trying to keep up with you, Doc.
Forward.
Yeah, man. Oh, but we are happy to be here
Yes,
with you this morning on this very basic of topics, actually. I guess a lot of times, us growing up, this is something that we have been taught to believe in.
Right.
But now to see that there's actual evidence that will back up what we believe,
that's the key.
Makes it so much more enlightening.
Yeah.
Or as you say, the Bible says to deepen your understanding of God.
Right.
And so that type of information to me is more enlightening for me and get me more rooted and grounded and knowing that what I believe is, okay, you got some sense. We believe it's not just something you heard from somebody, but something that's actually been proven through evidence.
Absolutely. And that's what we talked about last week, just talking about the fact that Christianity is an evidence-based religion. It's an evidence-based belief.
Yes, sir.
That this didn't just fall out the sky. Yeah. We just believed it because somebody said, believe it.
Absolutely.
And that's not the Christian faith.
Absolutely.
The Christian faith is something that is to be believed by evidence-based information.
Yes,
so we want to make sure that everybody understands, as we go through this study, we talk about today the argument for the existence of God.
Yes.
The arguments for the existence of God. We want everybody to know that Christianity is an evidence-based religion, and there is evidence for God. We know that there's contrary and contradicting beliefs that are circulating through society. We kind of dealt with some of those. And now our job, as we're doing under biblical investigation in the courtroom, our job is to present the evidence that proves that there is a God. And that's what our goal is for today. So we're appreciative. So we're going to get started.
Let's get ready. I'm anxious.
Let's jump right on in. And we're going to talk about one of the first arguments we want to deal with is the moral argument for God. The moral argument for God. And you're out there, we want you to take notes, we want you to write these things down, get this information because it's important. Like we said, there are contradicting concepts being taught in our schools and all over the world and society as different beliefs, of course, are out there. We want to make sure that our children, our people are able to stand, as we said in the beginning, in the apologetics, in the defense of the faith.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the moral argument is one that I really love and I appreciate. And it's dealing with the concept and the idea of mankind's morality. I'm going to bring you in just a second on this because I know you have this even in your schools, being a teacher and being in the school system. But that mankind has an innate moral ethic within him. It's a reality. It's a reality. Let me give an example. If I said to you, if I put a sentence together and I said, and one sentence says, Hitler is a good person, people would look at me and be like, and if I said Jesus was a bad person, people would look at me and cry. Because when you think of Hitler, right? When you think of Hitler, you think of someone who was a horrible person in our history, right? In the history of the world, all the things that were done by him, by the hands of him, by the actions of him, right? You say that wasn't a good person.
Right.
Well, here's the question. What makes him not good? And what brings us as human beings to the same decision or mindset that Hitler's activity and what he did was not good?
Right.
Who put that there?
That's right.
Who put the moral code within all humankind and mankind to believe to kill another person unwarrantedly, without reason, is wrong? Who put that there? It's not in the dog.
No.
It's not in the animal. I remember I was telling a story. I was listening to a comedian this couple weeks ago, and the comedian said that he saw something on TV and he was like, "Why would they act like this?" And he said they would get upset at the lion, and they said, "Why would they get upset with the lion when the man at the zoo climbed over the cage, jumped in the cage of the lion?" And the zookeepers and the people got mad at the lion for attacking the man and trying to eat the man. And the comedian said, "Why are you getting mad at the lion? The lion was being a lion."
Yes, sir.
he was, even though you can
what he
put him
do.
in a controlled habitat, you can try to teach him to be something he's not. At the end of the day, guess what? A lion
It's a lion.
is a lion. And you can't get mad at the lion for acting
Like a lion.
like a lion. It's not rational. It doesn't make sense, right?
Absolutely.
So the concept that we're saying is that that's a lion. But a human has in himself, right? Unless he's been altered by something in life or been taught in upbringing or something, we have a moral code and ethic
Yes, sir.
of something's not right and something's not wrong.
Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
anybody in the world, if you say, is it okay for this person to molest that child, they would say that's wrong. No one would agree with that, and the commonality would agree that molesting a child is right. Well, who put that there? Who put that conscience and that mind? Who put that there?
Right.
It didn't come from science. It didn't come from something in the sky. That is something that was placed in us by God, God himself. Even at your school, right? You work at a school. We got some
Yes,
other
sir.
people who work at schools. And they tell y'all to teach good moral code of ethics. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's really a biblical concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a biblical concept.
Absolutely.
But we teach these moral ethics. Well, how can you teach morality if there is no God? Because where does the morality come from? Did it come from the sky? Did it come from the animal? If the evolutionist says we came and evolved from the animal, if that's the case, why doesn't the animal carry that same moral code?
Exactly.
And how did we get a moral code if we came from the animal?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. So what I'm trying to show, that every person has this dimension within them,
Right.
and this dimension came from God.
Absolutely.
The conclusion must be that if it's not in the animal, and if the evolutionist says we evolved from the animal, but yet it's in us, we couldn't have come from the animal.
Exactly.
Because we would have the lack of the same moral code
Absolutely.
that is also not found in the animal,
Absolutely.
but it is found in the human.
Absolutely.
So the concept is it must have come from somewhere else, and we couldn't have evolved from the animal because we have something in us that's not in the animal.
That's right. That's right. And just going back to the example you're talking about, the lion. We train lions to an extent. We tame them to an extent,
Right.
and have them even do tricks to an extent.
Right.
So how did the lion learn how to do tricks? We taught them. It was
Exactly.
taught.
It was
They were
taught.
trained. Otherwise, an animal, the lion, he's got two ideas. The male lion is to eat and to mate.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's it.
And if we had evolved from animals, as they say we have,
Right.
our main goal is to eat and to mate.
That's it.
But we are more than that.
More than that.
We are a lot more than that. So where, as you say, where does that more come from? It didn't just evolve, or as some people say, fill the niche. No, it was put in us from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Because it is a form of something greater. Greater than ourselves.
Greater than the
if we look in ourselves, if we really honest with ourselves, which we're not a lot of, if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of times if we are left by ourselves, we're going to fulfill our needs or our desires. But it was so much into us. What makes us feel good, we hear that now. That's what we're going to focus on. but there had to be some type of curbing, some type of direction that we, as you said, we don't treat others the way they should. Well, they should be treated. We treat others the way we want to be treated. It's a different mindset. And our minds, again, as you said, is. I'm going ahead. Let's go. Let's move on because I can go all day. But
let's get to the point where you're talking about taught, right? Let's go back to that concept. You said something is taught. Watch this. When we talk about racism, just use this as an example. I'm using the example. I want y'all to go with me. Racism is learned and taught.
Yes.
If you get a child that's never been affected by any outside circumstances, I've been taught anything different, that little white boy will play with that little black boy and will never recognize color. The black boy won't recognize color and the white boy won't recognize color. And they'll play with the same car, the same toy, the same situation, and they'll have fun and won't have no issues at all because they have not been filtered, they have not been changed, they have not been affected by anything, any external circumstances, any teaching. All they see is a kid have fun, play. That's all they know. Here's the concept of, as they grow and we are taught, we are affected. These things, now the moral code changes because of what we've been taught, subject to, experience, happen to us, affecting circumstances.
Absolutely.
I remember a movie back in the day, and this thing really got me. And I thought about this when I thought about the conscience of man and how the appeal was made to the conscience and how God himself appeals to man through the conscience.
Yes.
He affects guilt in the conscience.
Yes.
He seeks to go into the internal man that God created in man, the conscience, when he speaks to us. So this movie back in the day, A Time to Kill. I know how many of y'all remember that movie, A Time to Kill. Matthew McConaughey, I can't remember his name, but McConaughey. Yeah. He played a lawyer in this movie representing Samuel Jackson. Now, Samuel Jackson had a daughter, a young black girl, that went through something, I won't get into details, it's horrific, went through something at the hands of a group of white men. Now, he had to defend and try to get Samuel Jackson off because when Samuel L. Jackson's daughter went through what she went through, he killed these men because of the situation. He lost it, went off, killed them. Now, he was in a courtroom in a time in a society where it was racially persuaded, right? And you have a jury of all white folks, right? In this current time in the demographic, you have a white lawyer, Matthew McConaughey, who is defending a black man killing white people. Wow. At his last statement, in his closing remarks of his last statement, defending Samuel Jackson, he told the entire courtroom, close your eyes. I need everybody in the courtroom for a minute to close your eyes. What are you doing? I'm trying to take away the racial prejudice that you have in your mind. Because when you see him, you see a black man. When you see this girl, you see a black girl. When you see, so automatically the racial prejudice doesn't allow you to see it from your conscience.
Absolutely.
So what did Matthew do? He says, I want you to see it from your conscience, not from your racial prejudice. Let me tell you a story with your eyes closed. Let me tell you about a young girl who was just walking home from school. Let me tell you how she was attacked by a group of men. Let me tell you what they did to her. And now, in the end of the story, it says, now imagine if she's white. So the idea was, I want to speak to your conscience without your prejudice.
Yes, sir.
And that conscience is what separates us from the dog, from the animal, from whatever else we have in there. If you take away the things that we were taught, racial prejudice, whatever we were taught, whatever we came into, that conscience is there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And where did that come from? It didn't come from the space. It didn't come from science. It came from God.
Absolutely.
And the Bible talks about that. We'll look at Romans 2 real quickly. Romans 2 and verse 14 and
before we
verse
went, I wanted
15.
to also add a movie we saw. This came to my mind. If you saw the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson, and how they went to this place. I forget exactly what city they went to play in, but one of the ball players said his family was in the stands at the game, and the family was there, and one had a young son there, and at first. The young man, he was just happy to see his relative who was on the team. And then Jackie Robinson was playing and said, oh, you get that person out of here. You get it. The adults were saying that. And the kid was just looking around. He's looking around. And he saw these adults saying that. And so then he started saying, well, yeah, go, go. But you see he was uncomfortable with saying it because that's not something he had been exposed to in such a negative tone.
Right.
So when that happened, and then the player came and hugged Jackie Robinson and all that type of stuff, and then the young man realized that something ain't right here.
Right.
So that also just shows us, even just in our environment, the environment that we are in, it can sometimes, if we're not careful, persuade us to think ways that we shouldn't be thinking, affecting our moral compass, if you will. But we know deep inside, and we really stop and think about it.
Right.
That's
It
not
ain't
the
right.
way. That's not
It's
right.
not right.
That's not
And-
right.
And the question is, who put that there?
There you go.
Where did that come from?
That's right.
It's not. It cannot be described. Cannot be checked or resourced under the concept
Yes.
of the evolution concept. Because you can't trace it back to the animal. You can't trace it back to the concept. We're different. God made us different.
Absolutely.
He made us where he himself can communicate to us even when we come off the tracks. He can get us back through this portal, which is the conscience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Romans chapter 2,
Verse 14 and 15.
14. For when Gentiles who do not have the law
Yeah,
do instinctively the things of the law,
yeah.
these not having the law are a law to themselves,
What's the law?
in that they show the work of the law
Where?
written in their hearts.
Oh, they got something in their heart. Wait a minute. So God puts it, let's go back. Let's go back. Cain and Abel. Moses had not given no law, thou shalt not kill. Think about it. The law came with Moses. But before Moses shows up and brings the law that says thou shalt not kill, Cain killed his brother Abel. And he knew it was wrong. God knew it was wrong. It was an innate reality that what he did was not right.
Absolutely.
And what are you saying? I'm saying that even before an actual law was in place, there was something in existence and in them
Yes,
that
sir.
stated that that was a wrong action. Because God placed that in us.
Absolutely.
A moral code and understanding of that's not right.
Absolutely.
And even though the Gentiles lived in society without God's law, they still had a law to
Say the
themselves,
law.
their conscience.
Yes, sir.
Paul goes so far to say that you can't even say that there is no God, even because the elements.
Yes, sir. You got to look around.
Declares His presence.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, even the Gentile had a law in their hearts, and their conscience convicted them
Absolutely.
of things that were right and wrong. And that's powerful.
That's powerful.
Powerful. The conscience bearing witness that their thoughts ardently accusing
Yes,
or
sir.
else defending them. They knew. Even not having a law, there was a law in you.
Absolutely.
That's already there by God.
And some of us now, I think, when we see different people, you see them struggle with that conscience. And some of them, what the Bible talks about, some of them have gotten to a point where they have their conscience now even been seared because of such of the fighting so much against it. But it's still there.
Still there.
It's still there.
Still there.
We can try to deny it, we can try to hide it, but that conscience is still going to be there.
Because where does guilt come from? What is guilt? Where does it come from?
That's right.
So this is where we get to the idea of the right and wrong standard. Who declares what's right and what's wrong? If there is no God, who creates a standard? If God doesn't exist, who created the right and wrong standard? And what makes your right right and my wrong wrong
Exactly.
if there's no God?
Absolutely.
I should be able to dictate to myself what's right. And you should, because it's all opinion based.
Absolutely.
It's all based on me.
Opinion.
And that is the idea of what we talked about, subjectivity. Subjectivity says that it's all dependent on what I feel and what I think and my emotions. Okay, so who created the standard of right and wrong? Why do we have laws to regulate people who do bad
Absolutely.
things and to
Absolutely.
put them away and keep, as we say, the society safe? And what makes what they did wrong? And how do we come to that conclusion? Unless there was a moral code placed in us and then a written code written that we have created our laws
Yes.
created and govern our countries to say things are right and wrong. That's a God thing, though.
That's hard to argue against.
Hard to argue against. Hard to argue against. These are just arguments. Now, this is the only one. Let's move to the next one.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move to the next one. This is the cosmological argument. All right? This is what I like to call the cause argument. Mm-hmm. You can't say something came without a cause. To make it simple, it's the footprints in the sand. Or the footprints in the snow. Let's say snow. You know something was there because there are footprints. Mm-hmm. Right? Does everybody understand that? Something stepped in the snow and left a print behind it. The print didn't show up of its own regard. Mm-hmm. The print happened because something caused it. Mm-hmm. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? It's a cause.
Yes.
Okay? And what I'm saying is, we're going to get to the idea of the universe, and get to the idea of human creation. It is all dependent on what I'm about to talk about, the cause argument, the cosmological. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that, all right? So, what is the cause of everything? Everything that is in existence has a cause. Let's keep riding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's deal with these definitions.
Ooh, this is
all right?
good stuff.
Let's deal with these definitions. First definition. First thing, these preliminary definitions, make sure you have these, of these three things that we're going to talk about to deal with this cosmological argument, okay? Three definitions that you need to understand, and that is necessary existence. All right, write these things down. Say, people, why are you talking about? Follow me. There is a thing that is only one that is of necessary existence. The second is dependent existence. And then the last thing is the cause and effect principle, what we just talked about. All right? Now, I'm going to define all of them right now, so just walk with me. I'm going to define all of them. The first one, as I said, the necessary existence. Here's necessary existence. Any being that exists but did not depend on anything for its existence. God. Y'all come here. It don't need anything to exist, and it exists without anything. God. What I'm saying, I'm going to prove by the cosmological argument, a cause and effect, that there you cannot deny the necessary existence. Mm-hmm. All right? And that is God. Because you have to explain, how did it happen? The great word that our kids love to say, well, how? Well, how did that, mommy? Well, how did that, daddy? Well, how? All right?
Absolutely.
Necessary existence. The next thing is a dependent existence, right? And we are all we have dependent existence. Mm-hmm. We are dependent. All right? That means any being or thing that exists, but dependent on something else for its existence. All right? That these pretty pews, they didn't just show up here in the building. The pew didn't just show up. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the pew was here. Somebody went out there to some tree, mm-hmm. cut down a tree, created this pew. Mm-hmm. Somebody got the padding, dyed the color. Y'all thought it was a cause and effect. The pew didn't just show up out of nowhere. If so, that's a supernatural event.
That's right.
And if there's a supernatural event, there must be a supernatural cause. Oh.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all following what I'm saying? It can't just show up because something just showing up, you got to prove that it's possible that something can just show up from nothing. That would be, by definition, a supernatural event.
That's right.
And if there's a supernatural event, how can you then not believe in a supernatural being? All right, let's keep riding. We can keep following me. I'm riding here. I'm in the car. Cause and effect. Mm-hmm. Cause and effect principle. Every effect must have an adequate cause. Just like we were talking about. nothing just happened happenstance.
Absolutely.
We're going to get to the idea of the Big Bang Theory, and we came from one small particle that expanded and is continuing to expand, and that's how, okay, we're going to deal with that in just a second. We'll just talk about the animal tracks in the mud, that concept. The cosmological arguments for the universe, and I'm about to explain what I just talked about. The idea of the Big Bang Theory, or the idea is that the universe came into existence from a small particle. That there were these gases and these particles came together and caused this event in the universe, as these astropologists, even in 1927, Georges came up with the concept that the universe is continuing to spread and expand even to this day. So therefore, the universe was created or happened because of expansion, and it began with these small particles. Even if you took that concept or that principle or that idea,
Yes.
my question to you is, well, where did the small particles come from?
Where did the particles come from? Absolutely.
Because you got to start somewhere. The question is, what started the small particles? Are the gases? Are the explosion? Are the event to spread? What caused the cause? Because nothing, if we do not believe in any supernatural, we have to explain away the supernatural by the natural. Well, explain to me the natural without the supernatural. Are y'all following what I'm saying? Where did the small particles come from then? If the entire universe came from the small particles, where did the small particles come from? And if you can't tell me where the small particles come from, because everything has a cause. They didn't just show up. The small particles didn't just come out of nowhere, because if something came from nothing, then that is a supernatural event.
Absolutely.
And if something came from nothing, what brought it into existence? What caused the nothing to come in existence from nothing? It had to come from something.
Come from something.
And no matter how you try to shake it, move it, alter it, funky it up, you got to come back to where did it come from?
That's right. That's right.
And the only thing that you can say, God.
Absolutely. It's so interesting you bring that up, because scientists will now tell you that we learned at school that the smallest particle in the universe is an atom. Atoms cannot be destroyed or created. They are just here. So if that's the case, where did the atom come from?
Where did the atom come from? It makes no rational sense.
So here we even seeing scientists. Science is showing science, well, this particle is here, where it came from.
Where it comes from.
We can split it, but we can't destroy it. There's got to be something somewhere that created this undestroyable, indestructible.
This thing. Amazing.
But we try so much. Well, anyway, let's move on.
Let's keep moving. Let's get to the idea of the evolutionists,
Yes,
right?
sir.
The evolution will say that it came from the Big Bang Theory, the big explosion, just talked about, but where did the explosion come from? They'll say, oh, the gases from the small particles. All right, well, where did the gases come from? Not they're stumped, because you can't, you have to go back to the cause. Everything came from something. And you can't say that that thing came from nothing but just showed up.
Right.
Well, that's what we're saying.
Exactly.
I'm saying that something came from nothing.
That's right.
And something coming from nothing is not a natural event.
No, sir.
You're saying the same thing I'm saying. You're saying a supernatural event started the natural events. Therefore, you come to the same conclusion that a supernatural event started a natural event. So if a supernatural event started a natural event, there must be a supernatural being that started in, because you can't get supernatural from nothing that ain't supernatural.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're trying so hard to disclaim
Claim the supernatural.
And all we're doing is proving it.
Proving it. All we're doing is proving the supernatural.
Yes, sir.
Trying to explain away what we cannot.
Exactly.
And we only make ourselves look more crazy trying to explain what cannot be physically explained.
Yes.
Because it's supernatural.
So then we change the subject. Or they try to change the subject.
That's
anyway.
it. All right. The cosmological argument, another argument within cosmology, is the idea of the human existence, right? The idea of humans and how we've moved within the dependent, I should say, dependent existence of humans, right? So I want to get to the idea of the evolutionists in creation. And so we just talked about the universe, right? Now let's get to the idea of evolution, the concept in human evolution, right? And that is, if human existence was caused by creation, then the clear statement, God must exist. If human existence was caused by evolution, listen to me very carefully, as you can see it was written. If human existence was caused by evolution, either the first human was born to two non-humans, or the first human was transformed from a non-human to a human during its lifetime. We know that two animals can't make a human.
Absolutely.
And show me the animal that's changed into a human.
Well, you know, they point to the monkey.
Well, why the monkey still ain't becoming human? And if we're still evolving, why haven't we still evolved into something even greater than what we already are? You can't find one monkey that changed and became a human. I don't care how many Planet of the Apes movies you look at. You won't find one.
No, sir.
Because it's never happened. Because the monkey is its own being.
That's right.
And the human was created by God. And there is no evolutional proof within the concept to prove neither one of these things have happened. You can't do it. It's not even biologically accurate.
Absolutely.
Let alone any other thing.
But
all right?
Again, just trying so hard to disprove, and I guess people are trying to disprove because they can't see. They can't touch. They can't taste. But we have to realize that God made us more than just that.
Absolutely.
Being existence of our just senses, but He made us a being to have, as you teach from time to time, the trichotomy of us.
Absolutely.
That all of us have to be a part of what we believe to be our existence, and realizing that God breathed into us His Spirit.
Yeah.
And that all of that makes us up, not the animals. Only man He did that for.
Absolutely.
But again,
makes us different. That's where the conscience, the heart, the fact of who we are as humans separates us from the animal.
Absolutely.
Because God breathed into man and he became a living soul. We're different. We're different. We're different. All right. The philosopher says non-human beings cannot give birth to human beings. You never find that. Can't find it, won't find it, can't come up with it. It is not possible for a non-human being to be transformed into a human. You never seen it done, you never see it done, no. It's impossible. Therefore, if evolution cannot account for the humans, then they must have been created. And if they were created, God exists.
Absolutely.
Period. Because if we destroy the argument for an alternate human existence, right, the only other thing you can come to, God exists. That's why they work so hard to try to come up with another way the universe came into place.
Exactly.
Another way. That's why they're trying to find some other existence out there. They looking for something. They're trying to find something to disprove God for those who refuse to believe in God.
Absolutely. And I guess it's for us as being humans to an extent. We want to believe that we are in control of our destiny. We're in control of things that happen, but realizing that to an extent you are in control, but realizing that ultimate control is not in us. Ultimate control belongs to God. But again, as you said, we want to make sure, we want to feel like we are more important than we truly are in the scheme of things. But when you look at all the evidence, I mean, when there's more evidence for the pro than for the con, there's only
It's only one conclusion.
one way you can lean to.
It's only one conclusion. And what we have to understand, we're in a very, very real society of this humanism, where they're looking for reasons why to deny the supernatural being, to only believe that humans are responsible. We are the we are the king, reigning, ruling thing, and there is nothing greater. Like you said, we want to be in control and feel that we are in control of everything and nothing is ruling over us. But the reality is, we are not.
Absolutely.
We are not. And in this setting, and the way we're able to do this is to be able to help people see how these alternate beliefs, these beliefs from, as we talked about, these different concepts, right? From the atheist, right?
Yeah.
We talked about last week. The atheist believes that there is no God.
Yes.
From the idea of the skeptic that says they doubt the existence, right? From the agnostic says they believe that there is inconclusive, right, evidence, and he doesn't know, right? From the idea of the pantheist, we talk about all of these that believe that everything is God. There's so much. There's so much out there. Our job is to sit in the middle, present the evidence, and say, sir, ma'am, young man, young lady, make a conclusion based on all of the evidence.
Absolutely.
The preponderance, the overwhelming, conclusive, all that we bring into this place.
Right.
And make an informed decision based on the evidence. And when the evidence is considered and when the evidence is brought together, rationally, just being rational. It is unrational to believe that something came from nothing, or something the rational believe that something did not come, or this thing, we say these atoms, these small particles, right? That these small particles created all that we have in the universe, but these small particles didn't come from anything. You can't take that position.
Absolutely.
You have to say, well, where did the small particles come from?
That's right.
And you have to demand an answer. And if you can't answer me where did the small particles come from, my conclusion is that they came from something that you can't explain.
Absolutely.
And if you can't explain it, it's because it's above your pay grade.
Absolutely.
It's beyond your ability.
Absolutely.
It's beyond your power. It's beyond your reach. And that's because it came from the supernatural event.
Yes, sir.
Because it came from a supernatural being, and that being is God.
Absolutely. We can't allow ourselves to be pigeonholed into thinking that everything is what we see. Everything is what we can touch. There are things that happen, and I say this a lot, there are circumstances that happen to us that as much as we try to be, we're not in control of.
No.
There are just some things that are going to happen. When you're in a car accident, you're not always in control of that. But you got to realize that what we do is we need to make sure that I can't see myself living my life believing everything I see and touch and just all there is. Because then what type of existence would that be?
Yeah.
There is no, I mean, if this is it,
ain't that what Paul said?
I mean, what's the point?
We're going to get to that later. Paul said, if this is it, if this is all we have to look forward to, Paul said we are men most miserable.
Absolutely.
If there's no promise to life or anything, because if there's no God, there's no life after this.
Absolutely.
If there is no God, there's nothing to look forward to but this life. If there is no God, all we have is this. And Paul said, if this is all we have, we are men most miserable.
Absolutely.
If this is as good as it gets, we are men most miserable.
That's scary.
And that's scary.
But again, with the evidence that's presented, and they say also, and when you go, for those who have to go to jury duty, I pray for you. But when they ask you to the court, the judge always says, now, throw out your experiences, throw out what you have heard, what
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
All you are to consider is the evidence
Yes, sir.
presented to you
That's good.
in
now.
this case.
That's it.
Anything else you need to leave outside. And
Absolutely.
only on the evidence presented in this case will you make a judgment. Now, we are presenting the evidence.
Good stuff, Doc.
We have to leave out what we've been taught, what we've heard, what we learned, what we were brought up on, and look at the evidence for itself and then make a determination if the evidence, which way the evidence points to. Is God real or is God near? And if you're looking at the evidence that we presented, you only have one conclusion to make.
That's it. That there has to be a supernatural being in place. The moral code states for it. The arguments we've created just so far against evolution and against the Big Bang are the concept of the spreading or enlarging of the universe from small particles or atoms. Everything that we've already created, the rational conclusion has to be what they don't want to come to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The rational conclusion, they have to come to the react, there's something greater than
There's
us.
something greater. There's something greater.
Even if you don't want to outright deny it's God, there's something bigger here.
Absolutely.
There's something greater going on than what I can explain.
Absolutely.
And you know what that does for most people? That mess them up.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
many mankind, I want to be able to explain it. I want to be able to understand it.
Yes,
And anything
that's
that
right.
goes beyond our understanding, because we are finite beings, we don't want to feel like there's something that we can't explain.
Absolutely.
But I love what you said, and that's the focus of this entire thing, right? We want you to come in here without your prejudices, without any notions or beliefs or sentiments that you had prior thereunto. We're asking you to sit in the seat as a juror
Yes, sir.
and to make a judgment at the end of this case. When we say case closed, when we say, no more witnesses, Your Honor. I rest my case.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
still in my case now. We
Yes,
ain't
sir.
done. I got
Yes, sir.
a whole lot of more bullets
Oh,
in
yeah.
this gun.
Oh, yeah.
But when we say, I rest my case, after we made the case for God, we made the case for his book, we made the case for his faith, we made the case for all these things. At the end of the day, I'm going to say, I rest my case. Now, I've presented the evidence. You make a decision, not based on what you've heard, what you believe, what you've been taught, what you've experienced. Make decision solely upon the evidence presented. And that's it.
And we believe that once you hear all the evidence, the
Yeah.
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
But
the
the
truth, there's only one conclusion.
Yeah, there's only one conclusion.
Only one conclusion you
There's
can
only
come
one
to.
conclusion. One
Amen,
conclusion.
amen.
We appreciate it. Well, we're gonna shut them down. We're gonna shut out a couple minutes early. We give you a couple minutes back, even on today, and we'll pick up here on next week. We got a lot more. We have the theological. We have a couple different arguments that we're gonna talk about concerning things concerning God, and we'll deal with those on next week if God says the same. And we're excited about just presenting this information because there are people who, while they grew up just believing that God
Right.
exists, is real, just
Right.
because mama believed it,
Right.
because daddy believed it, but they really didn't have evidence-based concepts
Absolutely.
where they
Absolutely.
believed in what they believed, but they just believed in what they believed because it was passed down to them. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also important that the person who passed it down to you also said to you, what I'm passing to you is also, it's not just something that I have in me just to be in me, but it's a evidence-based belief.
Absolutely.
That I'm not giving you something just to have it because I had it, to do it because I did it. I'm giving it to you because it is something that you can stand firm on by evidence, facts, truth, real, firm foundation that will never be able to be moved.
Absolutely.
All right. So we appreciate y'all so much. Thank y'all for being with us today under Biblical Investigations. If it's the Lord's will, we'll see you next time. As we say, if you keep the faith,
Faith will keep you.
it'll keep you.
Amen.
God bless you. We'll see you next time if God says the same. Amen. Thank
Amen.
you, CJ.
Yes, sir. Had a good time.
Good stuff.
Yes,
Good
sir.
stuff. Amen.